Lesson 5. Client as a Service. Upon successful completion of this lesson, you will be able to describe the client solutions that can be used with Kandy and describe the value of the Kandy Omni technology. Let's start with a brief explanation of what today's client application challenges are. When you deploy a voice over IP or unified communication client or any real-time communication client, with today's existing technology, every time you want to introduce a new feature, you have to update every single version of the app. So if you have an app for Windows, for Mac, for Android, and for iOS, that means 4 applications you have to modify to introduce a new feature. And then you have to upload all those updated applications into the respective application stores, which includes signing the binaries to ensure the latest OS security mechanisms don't prevent them from executing. On the app stores, the user can get notifications, and in most cases, the apps are updated automatically. But on Windows and Mac, you can also use the option to distribute the applications as a download, and in that case, the burden of notifying the user and managing the updates will fall on your development team. You could implement mechanisms into your own app to remind about updates, but the overall problem here is that all these processes are vulnerable to user error. So if the user has not enabled auto update or has it set to update only on Wi-Fi and is always on the go, you're going to get fragmentation in your user base. And you may reach a point where a service update is not compatible with the user application, and you get trouble tickets into your support staff that result in a service interaction that is costing you money and that could have been avoided by just installing the latest update. Well, the Kandy team thought about that, and we came up with a solution: our Omni client technology. It is a new way to deliver clients to your end users in an easily modifiable user experience that you can do for both your desktop and mobile applications. The solution uses the Kandy platform on the back end and a client container application in the front end that runs JavaScript, HTML, and CSS code. It's like a mini browser that has been enhanced with functionality to expose certain features from the operating system by using JavaScript APIs. This allows developers to access the operating system resources, such as the media devices, webcam, secure file storage, or volume controls directly from the web code. And in the back end, the web application is using Kandy's WebRTC capabilities, APIs, and SDKs to provide real-time multimedia communications. This approach minimizes the cost of rolling out new software because now the communication client is pure web code hosted in a web server that can be modified centrally and that runs on desktop and mobile endpoints. Every time a new feature is delivered, the web code on the server can be updated without modifying the binary executables installed on the user's devices. And every time a user starts the client, your teams can be sure they are running the latest version of the client. And because the client is based on web code, it opens a new world of possibilities in terms of customization and branding, as the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS codes can be customized, and any other assets within the client like graphics, backgrounds, or icons can also be adapted to the desired brand. Omni technology also supports Citrix virtual desktop deployments for enterprises that are using that approach to application deployment. The key value of Omni is not about the technology, but it's about the money. It's about how to save costs, because now it enables businesses to have one user interface across all devices. Web code can be easily created to be responsive and adapt to the device dimensions and input methods, so the same code can run on desktops with a mouse or mobile devices with a touch screen. It's going to cost less to deploy because every time you have to upgrade something, it's just one point to touch, and because it's based on web content, you're going to be able to customize it for your world. You can put your own brand, you can put your own colors and graphics, and you can put your own icons and assets. And all of this without having to upgrade every week. Yes, eventually you may have to upgrade the binary container because some needed updates that you need to apply to the security stacks, or maybe due to changes in the operating systems, but those changes are going to happen much less frequently. Most of the time, you will be changing client features and functionality, and that will be done centrally on the web server. In fact, with Omni, you can create multiple types of content and change the user experience just by changing a setting file on your server. For example, you can have the entire user experience change for certain seasonal or company events, for example, for Christmas, and you can put different colors, different graphics, or a different look and feel. In fact, if we now look at the update process, with the Kandy Omni technology, you deploy the new feature by updating the client's HTML, JavaScript, and CSS code. You then upload the new code to the server, and the next time your users log into the application, they get the latest client into their device. And the updates are very light. There is no need to update the entire application. The client content is cached, so only the HTML, CSS, or JavaScript files that change are the ones that need to be downloaded. This process is also now immune to user error because the users are always on the latest version and there is no more incompatibility between the server and the client. And we are already using this technology. We built several client solutions using Omni technology. For example, here you can see our latest Smart Office desktop experience for both Windows and Mac OS. Both versions look exactly the same regardless of which operating system you are running. This client is entirely built around web technology, but performs like a native binary application while still retaining many of the advantages of using the web code. For example, branding is now very easy. We have introduced branding capabilities within our Kandy Business Solutions portals that allow enterprise administrators to change the color schemes at will and even add custom tabs to the client to display web content within the client or in an external web browser. For example, a mini page with shortcuts to the key intranet applications or a page with industry or company news. Now, if we focus on the architecture of the client experience you see in here is composed of three distinctive elements. The yellow box that you see here is the container itself. It's the binary that delivers the integration with the operating system. And that binary shows you on the right-hand side certain capabilities that the operating system provides, like notification handling, call recording, access to metrics, click-to-call for third-party application, the control of the audio and the video, multiple speakers, camera and microphone management, and window management. All of those functionalities that are required from the OS are provided by the container by means of a JavaScript-based API. Then, within that container, we run the web server code, which is the blue box that you see here. It's basically the HTML5, the CSS, and the JavaScript code for the application. That code is retrieved from the web server and it uses API calls to the WebRTC gateway in the Kandy cloud, which is the green square here. All that functionality is there to be able to start a call, send a message, or start a video session. All those RTC capabilities are done from the server using the REST APIs that Kandy provides. So you now have an application that requires no binary client distribution for upgrades. You provide the binary for the container during the first installation, but once it is deployed, you can change the settings to make it point to whatever URL is hosting the new client code. And the client is centrally served and maintained, reducing vastly the amount of effort that you have to do to maintain the client, which lets you save a lot of cost. But it also lets you extend the client functionality beyond the communications aspects. You can even create mashups taking an existing client and combining it with other APIs and functionality or other web content to make an augmented user experience. This kind of mashups is what you can see here. Because we build everything based on HTML code and web technologies, Kandy clients give you unique customization options. Now, not only can you change the branding and the colors, something that we allow to do very easily from the Kandy Business Solution portal, but you can also add additional tabs that let you manage and integrate web-based content into the client. In this example here, you have two extra tabs, one that includes buttons to typical enterprise applications, and another tab that shows real-time news coming from an RSS feed from the company website, all within the client's user interface. But you can also add a tab that opens the content using your device's web browser. That's the button with the arrow that you can see in the image here. And we also support the ability to pass certain parameters to the website. So for example, if you want to connect to Salesforce and bring up information on somebody that just called you, the client can pass the caller ID to Salesforce. With this solution, the businesses can now take that client experience that used to be set in stone by the manufacturer of the client and apply their own content customizations that can be put in production within minutes, without having to force a binary update on the user's device. And as we mentioned, this is not limited to the desktop. Our Smart Office mobile clients use the mobile binaries for iOS and Android, running the same web code that the desktop clients used. The CSS code recognizes the device and provides adaptations, for example, to make the main menu a floating menu now, and change the input mode from point and click to a touch-based interface. Now, we mentioned before that you can mash up services by mixing APIs from different sources. And as you can see here, you can build entirely new clients. For example, for IBM, we built a real-time connections client, which is a mashup of IBM services with our Kandy Business Solution features. We combine our unified communications as a service capabilities, such as audio conferencing, contact center, video conferencing, and visual voicemail, with IBM's presence, contacts, and instant messaging. And this to provide a single user experience that leverages both worlds. You get access to meeting rooms, group chat, and file sharing, among other capabilities. And just like our Smart Office clients, it works on Windows, macOS, iOS, Android, and Citrix. And you get centralized control over the UI with colors and branding. So if you're an IBM customer and you're using their IBM Connections service, you can now combine your existing Cloud Unified Communication service with IBM Connections into a single user experience. Or for example, if you're a huge fan of Skype for Business and you're using their presence, instant messaging, and contacts, either on-premise or on Office 365, we can allow you to embed voice, video, and real-time communications into it without having to buy the complete Skype for Business package from Microsoft, and at a more affordable cost. What you see here is the Kandy Real-Time Communications client for Skype for Business, which combines Skype for Business presence, messaging, and directory services with our Kandy Unified Communication solutions. In fact, this can also connect to other SIP-based unified communication systems, such as Cisco UCM or BroadSoft BroadWorks. And this allows you to use your existing solution with the Skype for Business look and feel on an intuitive and unified experience for your users. And this is the end of Lesson 5. Thanks for watching.